Transition Tuesday. I'm Jane. This is Joe. Today we're talking about it's complicated. People, children, and adults with complex medical issues. Joe's road to recovery post-surgery has really kind of highlighted some of the issues around parenting a person with complex medical needs. And I guess I'm dedicating this to all of you folks out there who share my lifestyle and understand kind of what we're going through, and also hope that those of you who don't deal with these kinds of things can learn some things if you know somebody who is dealing with issues around someone with complex medical needs. So parents of kids with complex medical needs, 4 times more likely to suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. I heard one person say that when they hear a siren go by, an ambulance go by, they immediately tense because they've been there so many times. 10% experience frequent, routine, or long-term hospitalizations. So that is such a huge disruption in a person or a family's life. The hospital is a world unto itself, and when you're there, you have to be focused, and you're not there because of good things. You're there because of medical challenges or crisis issues. And so it's not, even if it's a elective surgery, which Joe's hip surgery was kind of considered elective, not in the sense of plastic surgery, but in the sense of we made the decision to go ahead with it. Still, you know, we were in the hospital for a few days, and, you know, we really could do an episode all by itself on hospitalizations and how that impacts a person's life, from feeding the pets at home and mowing the lawn and paying bills and dealing with insurance companies to how to do self-care when you're the parent in the hospital and when you're the parent or family member who has to keep going to work every day because bills have to get paid, the dog has to get fed. That's like intense, like just that one piece. And look at all the things I have here. Challenges often result from service inequities. So people like Joe, who require a lot of services, are expensive. They are also in the minority of the spectrum of disability supports and services because high level of needs, low numbers of actual people who have those level of needs. So what happens is the parents or caregivers or family members have to become savvy in advocacy because you're having to deal with environments where they don't know, oh, I've never worked with a child like yours before. If I had $1 for every time I heard that. Or the rules don't quite fit, or the eligibility criteria doesn't fit because, well, that's such a small number of people. We really won't serve them because, you know, financially we don't get the most bang for our buck. There's lots of reasons for it, and it's very frustrating when you are suffering from PTSD. Your child has just been in the hospital, and now you're dealing with inequities and services. And then you're dealing with teams. You have to become a case manager. You're dealing with a school team of 8 to 10 people on a child's IEP. You're dealing with, 13 or more. I think I read a statistic where it said the average complex medically need child has about 13 specialists that they see. So that's 13 doctors. Can you imagine? And then there's service people who work with the state agencies if you get any services. So you're dealing with these constant teams of people who have pretty much, they have their lane that they're going to stay in, but you've got to transverse all those lanes because of the needs of the person that you love. So what happens over time is a condition that is called chronic sorrow. This is a for real thing. You can look it up in a medical dictionary. It is used to describe a long-term period of sadness chronically ill people and families experience in reaction to continual losses. Continual. That means that on a daily basis, we may experience setbacks, disappointments, bad news, or you have good news, but you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're like, okay, we're having a great day, but you're scared to enjoy it too much because you know tomorrow may not be a great day. We know what could go wrong, probably will go wrong. That's kind of the expectation that you start living with. And so chronic sorrow is a real thing. Now, why am I telling you this? It's not because I want you to go, oh, that poor Jane. Oh, that poor Joe, what they must deal with. That's not why we're doing this. Why we're talking about this is because it's important for you to have a scope of understanding about things that are not normal for average people. That's why we've been doing this show for so many months now, for so many episodes. It's because we want you to understand this world as best as you can. Everybody can relate to sorrow. Everybody can relate to being depressed. But I want you to have the perspective of where we're coming from. So, here are some do's and don'ts. Do. Listen without judgment. Don't worry about thinking about something to say. If a parent calls you and just blubbers on the phone, just let them. Just listen. They just need to vent. There's so few places to vent. And while you're dealing with all these teams, you feel very isolated for the most part because there are not many people who share the number of issues and challenges that you do. So you aren't even always sure how to answer a simple question of, how's Joe doing today? I can tell you from experience, I answer that question differently depending on who I'm talking to. Don't offer things that require, do offer things that require no input. RAKs, random acts of kindness. It doesn't have to be complicated. A phone call. I have a friend that constantly texts me, if she's going to the store, do I need anything? And I usually don't, but just knowing that she could go pick something up for me is amazing. And she's the parent of multiple children who have disabilities, so she gets it. I know that if she asks me, can I pick something up at the store for you, is because she has the space in her life to do it. So it doesn't feel like a favor. It feels like part of the team helping each other out. Be yourself. Don't worry about talking about good things. Don't worry about bragging about your kid. Don't worry about talking to me about a bad day that you're having, because that's just you. I like you. You're my friend. We know each other. I want to participate in normal relationship things. So just be yourself. You don't have to sidestep. You don't have to, tiptoe around us. You don't have to. Just be yourself. Remember that we are tired and stressed out. So if we say no a lot, if we are invited to things and we say no, it's because we are tired and stressed out, and we still like you, but we're just tired. Going to a party when you haven't slept in days. Back when I was in my 20s and I didn't have responsibilities like Joe, that was a different story. And then I usually didn't say no either. Don't offer suggestions. I know you mean well, but with complex medical kids, it's like saying, take this medicine. Well, he's got other medicines. We've got to check interactions. It's the same kind of thing. A therapy that you read about online, on Facebook, or saw in a magazine might sound like a great thing, but we've probably tried it. Trust me. Please don't ever say, I could never do what you do. The fact is, families who are dealing with medical issues did not choose that path. We are in this path because we love our person, and this is what they're dealing with right now, and we all have to deal with it, like it or not. Even if we practice denial and don't deal with it, it's our life. We didn't choose it. It's where we are. And what I always want to say to somebody, and sometimes I do say it, if you were in my shoes, you would. You'd be able to deal with it. You would have to. I'm not like some special person that gets designated to be Joe's mom. I'm just Joe's mom. Simple as that. Don't use social phrases like, I would do anything to help you. Don't say it. I know you don't really mean it. I know you're just saying things because you are filling the air, because you're uncomfortable and you don't know what to say. So just don't. Just don't. It's a good practice. I do it myself, honestly. I have said some really stupid things to other parents over the years, which I regret. But I'm learning, and I'm trying to teach you. So don't do that. Now, as far as Joe goes, there's a couple of do's and don'ts for Joe. Some things that, and Joe and I talked about these things, and he agreed with some of the things that I put on here. All of the things I put on here. We talked about them, and he agreed. So I'm trying to represent for Joe. So if Joe looks better, keep in mind that he deals with discomfort and pain all the time. It's not like this. It's like this. He's constantly dealing with pain. So, yeah, maybe he has less pain today, but there's always, right? And, people don't want to talk about that, but that's his reality. Accept changes of plans and cancellations. I kind of talked about this a little bit before. Lately, with Joe's recovery being, kind of challenging, between the medication schedules, keeping Joe as pain-free as he can be, dealing with some of the side effects of medications, it means that our ability to go out and do things or leave Joe with his caregivers I mean, it's not really fair to leave someone who isn't a family member, this is my opinion, with a caregiver when things could go bad really fast. That just doesn't seem fair to me. And we don't have nursing staff. That might be a little different situation. But right now, I would not leave a caregiver with that. So that means that Jerry and I often have to cancel plans. And Joe often has to cancel plans. He was involved in some projects this year and he plugged along as long as he could, and he had to step back and step out. And that was hard, but it was the right decision. See? Joe's life is more than just his challenges. It's more than that. Yes, we're doing a podcast or whatever you want to call this, a weekly video series, mostly because Joe is a person with CP who is nonverbal and has a lot of medical challenges, and that is part of who he is. His cerebral palsy is part of who he is, but it's not all that he is. So it's important to remember that when you're dealing with somebody who is going through a health issue, whether it's cancer or diabetes or mental health issues, depression, any kind of long-term thing that this person has to deal with. That's not all they are. They are other things. Involvement for Joe looks different. When Joe's involved in something, when he was playing sports, recreational sports, he needed different ways to participate. And it's okay. If he wants to participate, we will find a way to help him participate. But just understand that it's gonna look different. And our feelings about his participation are often mixed and maybe a little restrained because we're used to things not always working out and we have to step back and punt. And so involvement for us looks very different. Smiling is sometimes a cover. Sometimes Joe smiles and laughs to cover. He actually has a lot of social graces. Smiling is one of them. Joe doesn't want you to worry. He doesn't want you to feel bad. Sometimes it's a neurological response to pain. So just understand that sometimes Joe is gifting you with a smile. He's not really feeling that great, but he is trying to put you at ease. Joe's very kind. He's very kind to people. He really wants to help you in any way he can, and that's one way. Joe doesn't always know how to answer questions you ask him. How are you feeling today? Woo, loaded question. It's a loaded question. So it's okay to ask questions. Just don't get stressed over getting an answer from him. I know we're always trying to practice communication skills, and I drive Joe crazy with my questions. But sometimes he just really doesn't have a good answer for you. I mean, do any of us always have a good question? How you doing today? And we just answer with our socially acceptable phrases. So just know that sometimes Joe can't really answer your question. The bottom line is, it's complicated. But thank you for listening to us. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to put some resources in the links, which, you know, are just basic, you know, things that I found that I really like as a parent. And who knows what we'll be talking about next week. You never know with us. We hope you'll subscribe to our channel, though. Transition Tuesdays with Jane and Joe on YouTube, and we will see you next time.